market.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tommy O'Brien, coming to you live from TFNN. Thanks for tuning in. 3:07 p.m. Eastern Time. We got 53 minutes left to go in the trading day, and we got positive territory. Markets, we got risk on, tariffs off. Yesterday, the huge acceleration intraday, about 2 o'clock Eastern Time. The president announces that he has a framework deal for Greenland. We trade higher. 68.59, you hit a high above 69.40 yesterday, and we're just coming in to test that area, the highs of yesterday. 69.46, S&P's up by 0.5%. NASDAQ up by 0.6% right now, up 167 points. We'll take a look at the volume in a moment. The Dow right now up 0.7%, up 347 points, 49,612, and the Russell up almost 0.9% at 27.33. And that high there, all-time high today, 27.49. On a volume perspective, though, yesterday was the day, right? You take out the last 4 days of trading, you do it with volume in the Russell. We're not going to have that volume today, likely. 295,000 contracts yesterday. You're at almost half of that, 166,000. You take a look at the volume in the S&Ps on a daily basis. Just huge days. Now, the one thing is you didn't quite have the bounce, but huge bounce, big volume, okay? Not quite as big as you had on the day down on Tuesday when you came back from the long weekend, but today, very light volume. Nothing compared to what we had on the bounce yesterday. We'll see if we can get through this gap that was left open from the weekend when those tariffs were first announced. You jump over the NASDAQ, same thing. Volume, 448,000 contracts. We're getting back that gap over the weekend, but nothing like we did on the bounce yesterday. Should we trade higher? And yeah, S&Ps, same deal at about 1 million contracts, and you did 2.1 yesterday, and we got about 50 minutes left to go in trading. Now, yields. So the market's gotten it back, but check out yields. Okay, I talked about this on the morning program, and nothing's changed. You get the 10-year down by 2 ticks. We're at 4.25% right now. 4.25%. We're getting a new Fed chair in 4 months. You're probably going to find out that name in the next couple weeks. And you're talking about from where we were in October, down 2.5 points. 2.5 points. You were flirting with 4%. We've added 0.25% right now in terms of the yield on the 10-year as yields continue to rise. But again, on a volume, that's a weekly. It's been a big week. Okay, this is only the third trading day of the week, and you're at almost 7 million contracts in the 10-year, and you did 10 million last week. Okay, it's a short week. We probably won't get there, but you average out the daily volume. It's a big week. Yields continue higher. Even with continuing higher yields, not extending the dollar, though. Dollar weakness today, down 41 pennies at 98.34. We continue to chop around this lower portion of this line. You're talking about a trend line this thing's been in since 2008. Okay, we hit it in the lows of 11. You chopped around 2013. You bounced off that area in 2014. You almost got there in 17. That was where you found support in 2021, and that's where we're back to again in 2025. You break below this area, folks. Watch out. Okay, 90s right there. You break below this area. We've been chopping around. You hit as low as, back it up on the daily, you got as low as 96.21 there. Okay, and I think we're heading back down there. Dollar's facing weakness right now. Yields are under pressure, and metals are saying it. Quite a day. It continues. We're going to talk to our man Tim Ward at 3:30. We'll talk some metals, and yeah, it's not stopping, man. And on a volume perspective, huge volume the last couple of days. And yeah, anytime you get the tariff volatility, it's going to be rip-roaring when you're talking about metals. That's your daily. You take a look at the weekly, and again, you're going to do it, but you're not going to get above this October volume. Okay, this was the cleanest strength out there. And what happened is that we got some nice executions in the gold report, okay? And we got stopped out of them at some point, but risk-reward-wise, all right, I want to see a pullback on lighter volume right now. That's what I'm talking about. You're completing an A to B, C to D. We're almost there, right? And that's just from where we were in August. And imagine, folks, that's where we were 5 months ago. And gold is completing an A to B, C to D, and the A to B leg went from 33.53 up to 43.92. Over $1,000 A to B leg. You pull back to a low of 39.01, and we just did 1,000 points again. All right, and what I was going to say was That was a beautiful setup, right? We'll get more of those setups, I think, but we need a pullback. I'm looking for a pullback on lighter volume, and we got some volume at these highs, but not quite as clean as the run-up you had in October. Now, silver. Silver's got some volume, man. Look at this. All right? There was no pullback in silver. That's the pullback we had in gold. I mean, imagine if you try and do the same thing. Silver's just outperformed dramatically. Look at that. All right? There wasn't even a pullback, and since then, gold just did a 1-to-1 off that pullback. Silver's approaching the 1 to 2.618 expansion right now, but silver's got volume on this recent move. That's the most remarkable part about this. So maybe you got to pull back and test this consolidation area here that you were at from prior to the holidays, $80. Not showing any signs yet. Silver continues to look strong. But this week going to be tough to match last week. Right? Even with a short week, 874,000 contracts last week. We're at 423. Tomorrow's Friday. Okay? You're not going to get the volume, and you're not even going to get the volume if you average out the daily. That was a remarkable week last week. This acceleration, volume-wise. Yeah, this week, you had Tuesday, and then yesterday, pretty paltry, and today, even going to be lighter. Okay? Look at these 2 days. 126,000 contracts and 100,000. You'll finish around 126 probably or something like that today. Some of the lower volume days since silver has been pushing above 65, 70. It can always fade higher, folks. And I'm not spreading fear, okay? Rates are going to be under pressure. The dollar's under pressure. The metal market longer term is great. And I understand why, with these types of returns and with what's going on with the debt and the store of value, okay, and whether the dollar's the reserve currency and all this stuff going on, right? Are we in a global economy anymore? Howard Lutnick doesn't seem to think so. This is stuff that's going to reorganize the strength in the dollar. And so there's some real heat that it's going to face. That's going to help gold and silver in the long term. But we're at 5,000 and we're at 100 and we barely have a pullback. Silver, like I just mentioned, that's not really a pullback. It's not. You went from $53 down to 45. That's a 15% pullback, okay, but in the context of making a run from 27 to 100. So, spend some time on metals, but I think you got to let it breathe, folks. But hey, 1-to-1, how about that? Just that quick, man. Gold's up $1,000 from where we were in October, and that's after moving $1,000 higher from August to October. All right, folks, stay tuned. We'll come back. We'll take a look at Procter & Gamble, up by 3.2% on their numbers. We'll come right back, folks.